What do you wish, brands and influencers were more honest about?
I think that the demonization of wrinkles is like where it's like the final frontier in like body positivity.
We are actually quite behind in a lot of those trends compared to other parts of the world, like South America, Asia, maybe even parts of Europe. Like they're so much more advanced in using the ingredients, obviously sunscreen filters, the technology, what people get and what's done, so behind.
What's the level of the tear? But the idea is that you can't time when the needles are coming in and out. So you're obviously going to have some dragging. And so there will be tears.
Welcome back to another episode. Today is all about skincare, but sharing information you probably haven't heard before.
That's right. Skincare is trending, but not always for the right reasons. From ingredient fear-mongering and influencer pseudoscience to rising costs of your favorite serums, thanks to global tariffs. And it's getting harder to know what's real, what's marketing, and what's actually worth your money.
Yes, so very exciting. Today, we're cutting through the noise with Charlotte Palermino, licensed esthetician, co-founder of Dieux Skin, and one of the most outspoken voices in the beauty industry. She has built a reputation for transparency, no BS skincare education, and calling out the industry's most misleading trends.
Yes, in this episode, we're going to talk about why the word anti-aging needs a major rebrand. Those social media trends are doing more harm than good, which ingredients are misunderstood or misused the most, how tariffs are making skincare more expensive and what that means for you, and how to become a more informed, empowered skincare consumer.
So if you've ever been overwhelmed in the skincare aisle or just felt like your routine is being driven more by trends than science, this one is for you. Let's get into it. Charlotte, we are so excited to have you here. I feel like it's been a long time coming, and you have always been, somebody that we admired, and you provide so much amazing content online that a lot of people, I feel like, don't even think about or know about. Definitely just coming from a derm perspective. So we are so happy that you're here.
I'm so happy to be here. I've been following you both for so long, but we did get to meet up in New Orleans, which was the most fun.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I honestly feel like I could talk to you for hours. But yes, we are going to try to cram as many questions as we can, make it high yield and really, enlighten our listeners here. Okay, so we're going to start with, you've been doing this series on your socials, things that should be viral but aren't, because you're just tired of seeing things that trend for all the wrong reasons. So I want to have all of us talk about this together and all share one thing that we wish was viral but isn't. And Jenny, you want to go first?
Oh my God, put me on the spot. That isn't. How about just using sunscreen every day? I know this sounds so old, but sunscreen is the best thing you can do for your skin. It itself has been shown to help improve hyperpigmentation and be a treatment for melasma. When you talk about sun damage and skin aging, the sun contributes tremendously. So wearing it every single day and just get in the habit. Certainly, I know there's a lot of different school of thoughts about should you be wearing it if it's cloudy, but I think I push and I preach about wearing sunscreen every day is more of a lifestyle practice and a habit. Just you don't brush your teeth only after eating sweets or something. We do it twice a day routinely, right? For good dental hygiene. And so for me, I feel just get in the habit of wearing sunscreen every single day, first thing in the morning. That is what I think should be more viral.
Mm-hmm. I love it. And it's you knew one right away. Awesome.
There we go.
Yes. And then Charlotte, what's a pressing one that you want to share?
Well, I'm actually going to make a video on this, but somebody asked me, they're like, oh, is Instant Angel why your skin looks like this? Because as you can see, my skin's a little bit reflective. And I'm just stop looking for one product to give you shiny skin. If you want that, put Vaseline on your face. If you want skin that is like this, where it's you can tell that I'm using, you both already know I'm using a retinoid, I'm using peptides, I do microneedling. I am doing things that are not only keratolytic, right, that help with that cell turnover, because I'm 38, help with cell turnover, but I'm also doing things like micro injuries to produce collagen. I feel I sit down with a dermatologist and they can already clock what I'm doing, right? And it's just because I can clock what people do when they sit down. I'm like, oh, have you had a laser recently? And they're like, yeah, 3 months ago, because I can just tell from the texture of their skin. It's not a natural texture. And so, for me, I'm stop looking for that one silver bullet. You need to find what's going to work for you. And if you want skin that is luminous and that has the appearance of like this like smooth pores, number one, get a setting powder, right? Then you're going to have to be strategic about, yes, hydration and moisturization. But when you are 38 and you are this melanation, you are doing interventions to get your skin to look like this. And so one product, like, oh, my skin looks matte afterwards. And I'm like, yeah, because it's not Vaseline. And so it's interesting to me when people look for that silver bullet. Like but I think that anyone who's an educator knows that there's no silver bullet. It's people who are selling you something, who are telling you there's a silver bullet, because it makes an easy sale. Somebody selling you a silver bullet, it's a sales pitch. It's not education.
Yeah.
Real quick, we need to talk about our new sponsor of the Skin Deep podcast, a brand we are all obsessed with, Clinique. It's a dermatologist developed, fragrance-free, allergy tested, and safe for sensitive skin, where powerful efficacy meets rigorous safety standards. With skincare designed for every skin type, Clinique delivers results you can see and feel.
Looking for next level hydration? Meet Moisture Surge Active Glow Serum. It instantly hydrates, brightens, and boosts your skin's natural glow. And for deep, lasting hydration, there's the iconic Moisture Surge 100-hour auto-replenishing hydrator, clinically proven to keep skin hydrated for 100 hours. Both products are fragrance-free, allergy-tested, and gentle on sensitive skin.
We've used them for years, and I love to see a resurgence in the brand because they deserve all of the hype that they're getting right now. I am obsessed with the Moisture Surge line. I mean, it's some of the bounciest, most hydrated, plump looking skin I've ever felt. I have personally visited their headquarters and the lab, and I was blown away. Like, I knew before I went that it was an iconic brand. You know, there's not a lot of brands that put that much effort into rigorous testing to really ensure what they're saying is true. I love these products for every day. I mean, they're really great for all skin types. It's so good when you're traveling too, just when you feel like your skin needs a drink of water. Like if your skin is thirsty, you got to go with Moisture Surge.
So hydrate, glow, and see the Clinique difference. Discover the power of Moisture Surge at Clinique.com or your nearest Clinique counter.
Clinique, dermatologist developed, fragrance-free, allergy tested, safe for sensitive skin.
Well, okay, I have a question piggyback off of that. What type of microneedling do you like to get done?
So I'm actually like, I want to ask you all this. So normally I just get regular microneedling because I've looked at some studies that application of PRP doesn't have a huge difference from just traditional microneedling. That being said, they didn't do the microneedling over the PRP. They just applied it afterwards. And as we all know, when you make an injury to the skin, we don't have, what is it, hemophilia, where it's like you...
can't stop bleeding.
Yes. So it's like their microchannels close really. Yeah. So like
have blood clots.
Your skin closes really quickly. Like there's a reason why you're not just bleeding out after, microneedling. Yeah. And so I was like the thing that all those Russian czars had. Anyways, that's how my brain works.
That's so funny.
And so I've read that, there's not a huge difference, but they've never tested microneedling the PRP into it, but the cost difference is so high, and I pay for my treatments that I'm like, I'd rather just do traditional microneedling. But I also do stamping at home because I don't have deep wrinkles. I'm an esthetician. It's about sanitation. It's actually not about danger. I just see people and I'm like, I don't trust you to make an injury to your face. So for me, I'm like in a sterile environment. I've like actually put alcohol all over me. Like I'm very careful with contamination basically.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll do micro stamping at 0.5 millimeters. There's a lot of people that say that it doesn't do anything, but I'm like 0.5 actually it injures your skin. So it's going to do a little something. It's not going to be as much as say 1 millimeter. So I do some micro stamping. I do some in office, but I was reading that you actually want to be stamping it in and you don't want to be doing circular motions because it can actually tear. So
like the rollers? Yeah.
No, like a skin pen because you can't, you should be stamping the skin pen. Is what I'm now seeing from the person that created it. The person that created it came out and was like, stop running that over your face. You need to be stamped. It was meant to be stamped.
Crazy. Yeah. The skin pen people. Oh my God. Did you just do skin
I
pen?
yeah yeah I mean like I you know I have an office so I do it myself and I do this
Same,
and
same.
I love your answer first of all, Charlotte, because like I totally believe there's not one product out there. It's a combination of things, and I have started microneedling using the skin pen just because I have it available in my office, and I feel like it does great things for my skin. I know if you talk to Lindsey, she's a big believer of microneedling and PRP in the sense that PRP helps her heal faster. But yeah, like I actually do this, and that's what we do. But,
Everyone
like,
does.
I'll have
But
to try that.
and I'm also like,
Yeah.
what's the level of the tear? But the idea is that you
Mhm.
can't time when the needles are coming in and out. So you're obviously going to have
Right.
some dragging. And so there
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
be tears. And I'm like,
Okay.
interesting. So
I'll have to
basically
keep
it's
you
like,
posted. Next time I do it, I'm gonna do it the stamping way. I'll let you know.
I'm sorry, it's such a small little thing that I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if we're
Well,
gonna
it
do
makes
that.
sense because I actually also going back to what you said about home microneedling. I think it's one of those things where, as a dermatologist myself, my personal thought is like if you can do it and be careful, know the side effect, know the risks, and if you can do it sterilely, I think it definitely probably can help a little bit with the superficial texture, maybe the acne scars. I think it's just that you want to be careful. Like if you don't know, you're prone to maybe getting scar formation like hyperkeloid scars, or say if you do it that's unsanitary, then the risk of infection, and seeing somebody who's more professional and expert in doing that, I think that's the risk.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the home ones, I don't recommend the rollers because those tear. So it makes sense if you're rolling it, so I can see. I don't know.
I never heard of it, and then I saw it, and
Yeah.
I was like, "Wait a minute!" And then I was looking it up, and I was like, "Interesting." But I think that I love microneedling because it's just controlled injury. Like I love lasers for the same reason. It's controlled injury. You do it twice a year, and then you actually do see massive gains because I've been doing either microneedling or laser since I was 35, and I will say it's like my skin is holding up.
Your skin looks
So
Yes, your
beautiful.
skin's amazing. Which laser do you do?
So I did Halo last January, and I was trying to do it this year, but I don't have the time for the downtime because I had rosacea flare. People don't know. People don't believe me when I say I have rosacea, including my derm. And then when he saw what happened, he was like, "You have rosacea." I'm like, "I know.
I
I
told
have it
you.
really under control." And so I had a full
Yeah.
breakout, but not
Wow.
from cell turnover. It was just like my skin was, but then the glow. So
Yeah.
I did Halo 2 years ago and then I went to Seoul and they stacked a bunch of lasers. I can't even tell you what they did to my face.
Oh my
Couldn't-
Yeah,
gosh.
but I want to do that. I want to do the thing
Did-
where they just stack a bunch of procedures on you.
I mean, I wish they
you
did that in
like
the
those
US.
treatments? I'm so
Yeah.
curious because next time I go, I want to do the same, Amina.
Yeah.
I
It's like you get all your derm
did.
appointments done in one day and you come out looking amazing is the word on the street.
It's very gentle, but I think what's interesting is that here they won't stack treatments. Like there, they will give you Botox, filler, lasers, Ulthera, everything, but the order in which you do it
Yeah.
is actually like what's timed out. But they'll do everything to you in one treatment. Whereas like here, it's like I have to go to the derm every time I want something different, which means then it just racks up the cost. And I think that's actually
That's
how they get the cost so
interesting.
low, is that they're doing
Yeah.
everything at once and they do it very quickly.
Yeah. Well, also there's a lot of competition, is my understanding too. But it's so interesting because this reminds me, in Monaco, Mamina, I feel like we are actually quite behind in a lot of those trends compared to other parts of the world, like South America, Asia, maybe even parts of Europe. Like they're so much more advanced in using the ingredients, obviously sunscreen filters, the technology, and
Yeah.
what people
We're
get and what's
behind.
done.
And I think
So
what's
behind.
fascinating is like people rave about Korean beauty. And like, don't get me wrong, I love Korean skincare, but the products that are more reasonably priced, like they don't have that many active ingredients. They do a lot of something that's called dusting. And so for me, when I'm using Korean skincare, it's really for like moisturization, hydration.
Yeah.
It's not for any
That makes
histological
sense.
changes, but
Yeah.
they get so many cosmetic treatments. They don't need the heavy hitters
Yeah,
like
they
we
don't.
do.
Yeah.
And so
that's totally.
that's why.
That's
And
like
so
the concept of
Yeah.
the
I just
same
love
in
hearing
Japan
that.
too.
Thank you, because that's how I feel too. Is I love Korean skincare too, but I don't go to them if I want to actually treat some issues. Like when you look at even their acne treatments, what's available, it's like there's really no actives. But it is in part supporting your skin barrier with the moisturizer, maybe the hydration component, the sunscreen. But yeah, you are so right. If their lowering concentration. So it's more just the skin hydration, which is obviously really important too.
Or if like you're 20 and you don't need anything, like you don't like, you
Yeah.
just want to do like, you know, very light levels of things. But like when you're in like your
Yes.
like later 30s, people are like, oh, what's a
need
great
help.
what's a great retinol? And I'm like,
Yeah.
Iope has an amazing retinol, but it's $120. Like it's not cheap.
Yeah.
And that concept
Yeah.
that all Korean skincare is cheap, I'm like,
Mhm.
no, some of it's
No.
extremely expensive and it's great,
Expensive.
but it's like
Yeah.
SkinCeuticals level.
Have you
Speaking of-
tried the Rejuran, the Pediarin serum?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
It's on our it's
Yeah.
on our list.
It's on the
know.
list.
But yeah, speaking of the US being behind and
Oh yeah.
other countries having it more together, I know you've been like super vocal about like transparency, regulation. So in terms of just brands in general, I guess probably more so US, like what do you wish, you know, brands and influencers were more honest about? I mean, and I love how you
Yeah.
are a good example with your brand. But yes.
I think one thing is if you don't understand something, don't talk about it. Having Joyce as a co-founder, as a cosmetic chemist was very humbling because I had a lot of opinions on like toxins and parabens. And then I met her and it's actually what made me go get my esthetician's license. Cause I was like, wait, I'm a marketer and doing your own research to an extent can work, but then you need to talk to an expert. Like, I think it's fine to do your own research, but then you have to follow it up with somebody who's an expert for them to then question what you have researched. If you don't do that point, you're just reading in a vacuum. And so, you know, I like one example is like, I love sunscreen. I love chemical sunscreen. I love mineral sunscreen. I hate this debate that we have about chemical sunscreen being bad. And I'm realizing that a lot of mineral sunscreen brands, without even knowing it, they are putting boosters in their sunscreens.
Yes.
And those are chemical filters that are not regulated by the FDA.
Yes.
And if you're putting it at any percentage, because the thing is, it is sold to you as an emollient, but any percent, it's the same benzene ring as octisalate. So it's the same thing. And you're just saying if you put octisalate in your formula, it's oily. You could call it a skin conditioner, but because it's recognized by the FDA as a drug, you can't do that. And so I'm sitting here and I'm like, you're saying that chemical sunscreen is endocrine disrupting, but then you're putting something that is the exact chemical equivalent into your sunscreen and then saying that you figured out mineral sunscreen. That's fucked up. That's lying. And you don't even know it though. And I think that's where I have a lot of empathy for brands because we're so used to in America selling you a story and branding being as important as the science.
I know.
And so
right?
my thing is I'm like, if you're going to come into the skincare space, hire a scientist. This is science. It's not a story. That's apparel. If you want to do a story, do apparel. If you want to sell a lifestyle, but skincare is different and you need to respect the scientists that have built this technology and not red pill people into conspiratorial thinking because that's what you're doing. You're saying, oh, the FDA is allowing, you know, brands to poison you. Meanwhile, you're also including the poison. Like, I don't even want to get into the fact that lawyers could literally come after you for literally false advertising, but that's a whole other story. Like, I'm just like sitting here and I'm like, can we just not neg? Thank you.
Right. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I think, you definitely enlightened me on that. I was completely trusting, oh, it says mineral. Okay, mineral. And didn't even understand that there's certain ingredients that actually serve or are like cousins and, you know, with chemical sunscreen. So it's just like, that's huge.
Yeah. It's like, we're launching a sunscreen checker. That's going to help.
Oh,
cool.
Like an actual like app or
it's going to be on our website and basically it's to check if your sunscreen has these chemical filters and then to remind you that it's not scary to have these filters, but you're going to want them under the FDA amount. So for example, butyl octosalicylate and octisalate, they're cousins. So you don't want to see butyl octosalicylate over 5%. So if you see that ingredient in your sunscreen, you should ask the brand how much they have in there, because if they're going over 5%, that actually the FDA has deemed unsafe with octisalate.
That is so interesting. I mean, I learned something today. The one thing that this is where it's like I have a like a dilemma in the sense, like as a dermatologist, I'm not an expert in, formulation and stuff, but I do know, like sunscreen is an active ingredient, so that has to be listed. But there are certain ingredients like, salicylic acid and other things that are like, if it's under the level of the monogram, they don't have to, it's in that INCI list, right? And so this is where, you think it's not there because it's not listed, but it's in the actual ingredient list. But I also, so like I encourage, my patients, followers to look at the ingredients, but at the same time, I also don't like the fact that they make the decision about a product by just looking at the ingredients too. So this is where it's like, for me, it's kind of like, it's a little hard to navigate that. You have to try it. I mean, like, just because there's an ingredient that could be listed as comedogenic, which that terminology I think is also like very confusing and old, doesn't mean it's going to clog pores. I always get those questions. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna ask a question. I'm just so in awe of like some of the topics you bring up on social media. So one of the things also is I think you're also part of this mission to recognize that the term anti-aging is like kind of problematic, and I'm still struggling to figure out like how to best reframe it. What is your approach? What? How should we reframe this conversation and switch or change terminology or change our perspective?
Yeah, and I think it's a really hard thing to reckon with, because if you go to Seoul, like go to that derm clinic, they will call you ugly to your face and tell you that you look sick because you have wrinkles, right? Like, it's very no bedside manner. There was none of that. Like, this is going to make you empowered and make you like feel less tired, right? Like, which is, we couch things in like dog whistles in the United States rather than just like coming out and saying the thing. And so for me, I think it's more around the lines of like, anti-aging, it's like almost like you're against aging, but we love experience, right? We should love experience. Like, we talk about self-growth, and like you can't have self-growth without actually having lived. And so I think that the demonization of wrinkles is like where it's like the final frontier in like body positivity. But then there's a huge conversation happening in body positivity right now where it's like with like, the rise of Ozempic, it's like, it's like it's complicated. I think that one thing that I will say, and I've been thinking about this a lot, is that I am somebody who is like tall, who is thin, and who is white. And so for me to speak on beauty standards, I fit a lot of the conventional norms. And so when you age, you start to fall out of those norms. And so that's when you rail against the system, but you've been benefiting from beauty standards for so long. And so I think that that's something that I'm grappling with. And I'm like, what's the best way? It's why I don't judge people for getting cosmetic treatments. I'm like, you want to move through the world more easily. What I won't call it is empowering. That's the thing. I'm like, it's a tool, it's a currency, that's fine. We can call it what it is. But I find it very frustrating when people who fall under conventional norms then lambast people for getting plastic surgery. There is a study out of Brazil that I'd actually love for both of you to look at. It's more of like a report, but basically it's looking at how people got themselves out of poverty through plastic surgery. Wow. And it's because we societally, right? This is very Puritanism in the United States, but it's also in Seoul. So I would argue this is just like a human problem. We equate how you look to how your goodness, especially with women.
It's very much part of Asian culture. And I think that is why South Korea is like the capital, like international capital for like medical tourism, cosmetic surgery. It's just, well, there was even that article a while back, Mamina, like in residency, where residents that actually look good, like physically beautiful, matched into more competitive specialties.
In Seoul, I was talking to somebody who worked at a very large beauty conglomerate, and they said that when you apply for jobs, you attach your picture. Yeah. And it directly impacts whether you get callbacks. And so it's just, for me, more the anti-aging. I want to see more representations of women, just generally speaking, from body perspective, from, like skin tone, from aging, because I think the thing that, I look at older women and I'm like, oh my God, like she's gorgeous, like, and it's just like, it's interesting because we're starting to see more representations of it. But I think that, there's a beauty problem with pretty privilege and the fact that we demonize people who don't fit a certain mold. And so I think that that's the thing that needs to be addressed. And then also the recognition that, attacking individuals is never how you get get any change. You have to look at the systems that got us here. And the beauty industry is just simply capitalizing off of a systemic problem within society. And so that's kind of more what I see. Like in France, for example, people are always like, oh, they're so age positive. And I'm like, yeah, but if you're not really thin, they're terrible to you. Like they don't care about wrinkles. They care about how much your size. And so it's different. It's a different beauty standard.
Culture's so different. Yeah.
Oh, my family thinks I'm a weirdo when I go home because I like literally I have this skin, and then they're like, "Oh, mais t'as pris 5 kilos?" They're like, "Oh, they will literally guess how much weight I've guessed as I've gained or lost as I walk into the house." And it's just normal.
I didn't know that
it's
was
just
a
normal.
big part of French culture too, because like, you know, I'm Chinese and that is so typical of Asian culture. Like they literally just call you out. You look like you're 5 pounds thinner, or you're like, oh, you're too skinny, or you're too fat. I mean, literally, that's like your relatives will just tell you that. Yeah. Like
Yes. And it's like everyone's like, oh my gosh, like that's terrible. And I'm like, honestly, like you as you get older, as a kid it's terrible, but as you get older you're just kind of like, come on, man.
Oh wow, that's so fascinating.
It gives, I know it's fascinating, and like it's kind of gives me hope, like the French example, in that like it is sort of societal and cultural, and there is potentially a way to be able to ingrain a more like or a wider accepted view of certain beauty standards. Just because like wrinkles are considered normal and a privilege almost.
It's not a medical condition to have wrinkles and like but then it's like I look at my grandmother who never went in the sun and has very little wrinkles, and it's like, am I gonna judge somebody who went in the sun a lot and then wants to look like my grandmother? Like, no. You know, I'm like, I find that to not be a super useful exercise. And so that's kind of where I go. But I have to grapple with the fact that I'm starting to get wrinkles, and I'm like, nope, that's society's conditioning. Stop it. I'm like, this is a good thing. You're getting older.
I love, one of the reasons why I just like love talking to you is you're just, you use like really good metaphors when you talk. You're super nerdy, obviously in the best way possible. And I'm sure you're really good at like research and reading, but where do you get a lot of your information? Like, like all your knowledge and, you know, how can you help others who want to learn more about like skincare? Like, how do you help them be more, kind of, what's the word? I guess not be skeptics, but just be more aware,
critical and curious, right?
Exactly.
I think it's like critical but curious. And I think the thing is if you're only critical, then you're never going to learn anything. But if you're curious and you're critical, then you're actually in a really great spot. And so for me, I actually read a lot of just like, you know, trade news, but then I actually go beyond and I will look at their citations. I listen a lot to I read a lot about the wellness industry, because whatever's happening in the wellness industry, it's just a matter of time until it hits the beauty industry. Beef tallow is a fantastic example. You know, you look at the wellness industry, you know, the conservative crunchification, right? So it's like before hippies used to be the people who wanted, you know, like, you know, organic foods and to like get red dye 40 out of things, right? That was a liberal mama thing, right? Like the, you know, like, you know, Southern California moms. And then slowly but surely, this is actually like, because what it really is about is distrust of institutions. And so who is the most distrustful of institutions? Well, now that's swung over to conservatives. And so it was just a matter of time until like beef tallow was like a code word for being conservative. And so but you see that from the wellness, like raw milk was going to jump like a virus. It's going to jump over from raw milk over to beef tallow, even though I would say beef tallow is far more safe than raw milk. Like if you're going to pick a poison, pick the beef tallow, even though I don't think it's that great of a moisturizer. It's fine. Which I'm sure
our take on it. It's fine.
Yeah.
But
like it goes rancid really fast. So
exactly.
There are better things.
Godspeed on that. Literally. They're better moisture. Like I love people who are like, my skin, I use beef tallow. I'm like, I don't. And look at my skin. Like contest.
Right. It's possible to have amazing skin without using beef tallow.
Like, okay. Like nothing else worked. And I'm like, well, everything worked for me. So I don't know what to tell you. But I find that to be like very, very fascinating. And so I read a lot about wellness, and I read a lot about wellness trends.
Interesting.
And then I
Okay.
follow a lot of scientists. I think following experts and making sure that your feed goes more to experts, but I also follow people who are researching misinformation and how critical thinking actually works. Like people who have like their PhDs and how like psychology and how to critically think. And so it's more about just being generally curious. And for me, because I actually started my career in marketing, then I went into editorial, then I went into tech, then I started my own company. It's because I'm just like very curious, but also I'm like, I can do this.
Yeah.
But I need the backup, right? And so, you know, I
Right.
can start a skincare company, but I need to work with somebody like Joyce. Like I'm not doing this on my own. So I think it's very much so about like combining those two things.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. You're good at like taking in the information and synthesizing it and sharing it with the audience so well.
Very much so.
Yeah, I think. I wish more people would take your lead in terms of just all the misinformation that's out there.
Well, speaking of misinformation, I'd love to hear what you think is the most misunderstood ingredients in skincare.
I think parabens is a pretty good one.
Wow, I love that you brought that up.
Well, I think it's interesting because, you know, we talk about how Asian cultures are so, you know, healthy. I'm like, they eat a lot of soy. Like, pick a fucking side. Like, if phytoestrogens are bad, okay, then like be consistent. And so, you know, I'm not saying to like, you know, foie gras yourself with parabens, but I think that when you look at short chain parabens, they don't absorb into the skin. It's the long chain ones. And so if you want to follow Europe's lead and take out long chain parabens because of concern, not because of proven damage, but just like, we don't need these. We have the short chains. They don't meaningfully pass through the skin, just like newer sunscreen filters, quite frankly. That's fine. But to build whole brands, to accuse the government of trying to poison us, it's just so damaging. And I think that it radicalizes people in the wrong direction. And so for me, it's like, I wish that people understood that parabens, number one, it's not one ingredient. You have tons of different ingredients. And then within that classic category, it depends. Same thing with dimethicone. There are cyclic silicones, and then there are the D4s that are like dimethicone, which biodegrades, and you lump them all together. And then it creates this environment where brands get attacked by their customers that are very, very loud. And then they start changing their formulas into things that we don't know are better. And it creates this like chain reaction that at the end of the day does not make a better product for the customer, doesn't make us more safe, and doesn't protect the environment. So what was the point of it? And so that's the thing that drives me nuts, is that right questions, wrong solutions will always drive me crazy. The right question is, are these products safe? And the answer is, I mean, y'all know this, it depends. And then you have to drill down.
Yeah, it's so funny. There's the Contact Dermatitis Society of the American Contact Dermatitis Society, and every year they have the contact allergen of the year. It's kind of cute. It's like this year the award goes to fragrance or whatever. But one year they just decided to also have like the non-contact allergen of the year, and it was parabens.
Totally. But
we're seeing all these contact allergies.
So funny.
Non-parabens.
Yeah. Right. It's like, I know, like, I feel like we all know there's so many nuances, but I feel like maybe I feel kind of sad for some of the brands, like almost like peer pressured into saying that, because everybody is saying parabens and bad. And to say like, if you don't list it, it's like you're not marketing your product well. You know, I've seen some brands I really like that put it on there, and I was like, that's really not necessary. And I know they do a lot of work, dermatologists with formulators, scientists, but it's like they're almost peer pressured.
It's very much so give the customer what they want, and versus doing the hard thing, which is educating the customer. And I think that's the thing. It's like for us, like, we don't use parabens. We use largely like this preservative system that Joyce created with like very low amounts of like phenoxyethanol. But what's hilarious is that phenoxyethanol is now on the chopping block as like dangerous. And that's the thing. It's like so when I was in university, I did business school, but I also did poli-sci. And I did my thesis basically on, or like my large like closing essay on like nuclear deterrence. And I was like, I feel like we're in an arms race of free from claims where we're going to have nothing. It's like free from skincare. It's free from product. It's just air at this point, because you can demonize anything. You can demonize water if you want to. And so if you're not using expertise as like a barometer, and if we can't have an agreed upon truth of facts, that we're kind of donezo, which is why for Dieux we draw like a line in the sand. And the Yucca app rated us as like this very low safety because of phenoxyethanol. And I looked at their citations, and they're like, in Europe, you're only allowed to use it at 0.4%. And I'm like, in children's products, and we're using it at 0.325%. So what's your fucking point?
Yeah.
What's your point? Are you kidding me? You're disparaging a brand without even having the percentages. What, are you kidding me? That's crazy. You're the toxic ones. And I made this video, and like I got like a cease and desist on the first one because I incorrectly stated where they got some of their revenue. And I was like, fine, I'll remake the video taking that out. And then it went like mega viral. And I was like, thanks.
Nice.
Thanks, Yuka. But I tell everyone to delete that app because it's just like, it's not accurate. For allergies, it might be great. Like if you're allergic to like gluten or something, like I can see it being very helpful. But I'm like, outside of allergies, forget this app.
Yeah.
That is.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
okay. So one more question. What is your take on clean beauty? Or can you have clean beauty done right?
I mean, I think it depends on how you define it.
Yeah.
I think it's
your
that simple.
definition? Love to hear your definition.
I mean, I think that the people who started it had really, really good intentions, but clean beauty comes from clean living, and clean living comes from eugenics, from John Harvey Kellogg. So I don't love the term. I have like an ick of the term, but I actually don't think it's wrong to want to have greater standards. And to also point out potential allergens, potential things that might be bad for the environment. I actually see nothing wrong with that. I think that it's the term implies that everything else is dirty, which I don't love. But I actually don't have that much of a problem with clean beauty if it's very clear how it's defined and if you're not demonizing everything else.
Totally.
Doesn't
So
bother
it's
me.
more just the brand needs to define their position, their take on clean beauty.
Exactly. And also don't start lying. Don't start saying endocrine disruption. Don't start throwing around terms, because I will read your lavender serum to filth, because lavender is an endocrine disruptor.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it can grow breast buds in kids. Yeah.
But I'm just like, literally plants are endocrine. Like, oh, you have soy in your product? Are you being for real right now?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I think that term definitely, I don't know, it's just a loaded term now with so many negative associations, unfortunately, because I agree. I think that it's important for standards to, people want to keep those higher standards, but yeah, this word or term. Okay, we want to finish off talking about tariffs. It's a whole big thing, and I know you have some tariff talk, some great interesting perspective on that. So can you explain what's I mean, unfortunately, I feel like I'm so inundated with so many things, I haven't been really staying up to date. So can you explain what's going on with like the new tariffs, how they're affecting skincare imports, ingredients, packaging? I know you're in it.
I'm in it. So just a quick summation. There is an overall tariff put on any imported goods, but it's not that high. It's 10%. It's really not that big of a deal, honestly. Okay. It's not great, but it's not the worst. And so it's really interesting. And so the way that it's impacting the beauty industry is that packaging componentry, if it's plastic, it's coming from China. I have yet to see plastic componentry. There maybe are one or two factories in the United States, but like I'm actually curious if they're decorating here, if they're actually mass producing here. And we don't want to bring plastic production into the US because it's actually hyper polluting for waterways. So that's like what's hilarious to me. I'm like, why would anyone who wants to make America healthy again, why would you ever vote for somebody who wants to bring you're bringing coal back? You're complaining about talc in setting powders, and you want to bring coal mining back? Are you kidding me? I'm like sitting here, I'm like, make it make sense. And so, but the way that these tariffs are going to impact brands are, first and foremost, you're going to see massive price increases on actual packaging componentry. So some brands might not even be able to produce their products anymore at the price that they are doing it at. So for example, we make our Forever Eye Mask in China, but we're going to be okay regardless, because even with like a doubling of the price, we're just going to eat a less margin, right? That's fine. We're still in a world where we can operate. We only sell the product once. It's really more of like a marketing play for us. So I'm like, I don't want to raise the price on this yet. But for the rest of our products, because we care a lot about where we're sourcing from in a carbon footprint standpoint, China's far from the United States. So just because of like logistics, I was like, I'd like to source from Europe. So a lot of our packaging components are sourced from Europe. So we're actually not super impacted. So the brands that are sourcing a lot from Europe, but where things get really tricky is with the formula itself. So you call it the goop in the industry, but raw materials, they're sourced from all over the world. And this has been the case for a long time. So for example, castor oil, it's grown in Pakistan and India. It's then processed in Brazil, and then maybe it comes into the United States. So that's a lot of different places. China has a huge agricultural industry. And so how many source products are coming from China? Probably a lot. And so, you know, for us, we only have one raw that I really know comes from China, but it's at like 0.1% in one of our formulas. So I'm like, that's fine. But that's source material. So we are seeing some increasing in pricing, but it's not on the final goods, because the way that tariffs work is that you actually come up with the valuation. And so if it's a raw material, it's not a finished product. So this unlocks a new issue. So if you are, because we manufacture everything in the United States. So our contract manufacturers assemble, formulate, create in the US. There are some brands who formulate, manufacture, and import from China. There are, I'm concerned for them because that, even 100% tariff, that's on a finished good. You have what's called the MSRP. So people, a retail dollar, that's going to be tough. What's also tough is even if you're producing in Korea, a 10% tariff like that, that's 10% increase in costs overnight. Like you weren't planning that, especially because Korean made products, you're supposed to be pricing them cheaper because that's the whole appeal.
Right.
It's just crazy. And then the last thing that's nuts is the de minimis, the import. So before you could import up to $800 from Hong Kong or from China and you would not pay any sort of fees. That is changing in May and June. So all of our Korean sunscreens are about to jack up in price. But I don't know if you saw Hong Kong announce that they are no longer going to be shipping to the United States. So Style Vanna, done.
Oh no.
Yes Style. I was just mentioning before we got out
Yes
the show
Style,
that I ordered a lot of my stuff from Yes Style. They're no longer even going to ship anything to the US.
They're going to have to change where they actually ship from. And so maybe they're going to start shipping from Korea, but there was a much easier trade before. And so, you know, it's just a mess.
So frustrating.
So frustrating.
Yeah. And it's really interesting because I actually buy a lot of Chinese cosmetics from Yes Style. I was telling Mamina before the show, and like the other day, like they're all gone. Completely, you can't even find them on Yes Style, like on the app online anymore. It's crazy.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And so, you know, ultimately, I think this is going to be good. And I mean, the thing is, like, it's funny because when I post these videos, I'll get people being like, well, this is going to bring back manufacturing. And I'm like, no, it's not. Maybe in a couple of decades, but unless if you're going to do what China did, which is like they invested, you know, it was a government handout. It was the welfare state, right? Where it's like, it wasn't just foreign investment. It was a blend of foreign investment, but also the Chinese government intervening and giving a lot of money to different industries so that they could actually build manufacturing. So unless if you have both of those things, you're not going to have it. But also like, you don't want to bring the manufacturing jobs that are there here, right? It's just insane to me. So there's that piece. But then the other one was the fentanyl conversation, right? Oh, well, all this fentanyl is coming from China. Well, fentanyl use is down in the United States. You want to know what's up in the United States? Meth.
Oh.
Great.
Oh, right. Because
if you don't fix systemic problems of addiction, they are just going, people are just going to find a drug. And
other
so,
ways to manifest.
I'm just sitting here and I'm like, I hate this.
I don't like listening to this. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's so hard.
So anyways, I'm like, in no way does any of this make sense. Like in no way.
Yeah.
So just stop trying to justify this. It's a bad idea. I have no problem with tariffs, actually. I have no problem with, you know, trying to bring certain manufacturing jobs back to the US. But the thing is, it has to be strategic, and you can't spit in people's faces like Europe, our like our allies for decades, and then like expect to be just fine. Like this is going to have serious ramifications. And so it's again, the same thing with like everything that I've been saying. It's like the right question, the wrong solution, right? How do we bring jobs into the US? How do we have, you know, America be like, oh, on the world stage? These are all fantastic questions to ask, but this cudgel is not going to work in our favor. So yeah.
Gosh. So like
tariff talk.
Tariff talk. I know. So like with your brand, it seems like you just said there was like one thing, or there was something with the packaging, or is that okay? Or do you have to make any adjustments with prices or anything?
Not now. But the thing is that in times of volatility, it's a coin flip. So you can't make good business decisions. That's why you're going to be seeing a retraction of dollars coming into the US, because people always like, you're gambling, right? And so a lot of investors like to mitigate risk, and they like to have some level of projections, and you can't do that right now. So for us right now, we're okay. We certainly can't do price drops, which is something that we were exploring for this year. So we can't do those anymore because our prices are going up. But I think we'll be able to ride it out if there are no massive issues moving from here. But I think that trying to predict anything in this level of volatility is a fool's errand.
Yeah. So do you foresee, especially maybe some of the smaller, maybe indie brands, either they're going to have to jack up their prices or just stop producing some of the
I think you're going to
products
see a lot of the brands that were much more reasonably priced start, because the thing is, a lot of them were sourcing their packaging from China.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
That's how you get cheap prices. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
so you're going to start to see the affordable brands really get crunched.
Even affordable ones are not going to be as affordable.
Yeah. And it's truly because I look at some brands and they have excellent formulas, and I was like, yeah, because like your packaging costs nothing. And now if the packaging goes up, like, 2, 3, 4x, that's totally throwing their margins. They're going to have to increase the price.
My gosh.
Yeah. For us, our packaging was already expensive. And so it didn't, when I saw that this administration was going after Europe, I was very scared, because I'm like, even 50% increase in cost on our packaging would absolutely screw us over. But for now, it seems to be 10%, which is bearable.
Okay. Well, I feel. When do we feel like the dust will settle? Or I don't even know. I don't understand economics enough.
I'm like, and here's the thing. It's like, because economics is partly psychology, partly, global markets, which are impacted by psychology. I think that to wait for this to be like resolved, it's like by whomst. I think there's going to have to be like a seismic shift in the US, and like the US also, like the dollar might no longer be pegged as like the global currency. And that's going to then lead to massive issues. Like sitting here and I'm like, watch what happens, like with my popcorn. But at the same, it's why I like talking about it, because I think that speaking up does matter. It does shift things. And I do I have my senators and my Congress people on speed dial. And so I talk to them almost every day. And so I think that also your local elections are a great way to also get involved. And so, in New York City, the mayoral elections coming up, primaries are in a couple of months. So just, stay informed.
Yeah. Totally.
It impacts your beauty products. It impacts everything. Surprise.
It impacts everything. Yeah. I mean,
and thank you for keeping us informed. For those who may not always have the time to.
I know. Thanks for doing the research
go
for
to
us.
Charlotte for her.
I've doom scrolled for you.
Yes. Thank you. We appreciate your sacrifice.
Yeah. What a reality check. I mean, seriously, crazy.
Well, I mean, Botox is gonna, like, like medical equipment, like everything, like, for now, most Botox is made in Ireland, so only 10%. I mean, it's on the raw material.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, all fun stuff.
That's
all fun stuff.
Yeah, I mean, really got behind some of these skincare myths, products, tariffs. I mean, just what is happening with the world right now. And we love you, Charlotte, for all keeping us informed and just helping us make better decisions about, evaluating skincare and more critical of what we put on our skin, and just learning. I think just constantly learning and being informed. I love that. Being critical. And
thank you so much for having me. I've loved following you both for years, and so it's just really.
I hope one day we get to meet in person. I don't know if you ever go to the AD, but
I am. I think Dieux might be there soon, but I think we also need to do a New Orleans trip.
Yes, I want another coffee date with you. And okay, well, if our listeners want to learn,
for coming on,
yes, thank you so much for coming on. And if our listeners want to learn more from you, where can they best find you?
They can find me on social media at Charlotte Parler, Parler, and that's just Charlotte Speaks in French, and then at Dieux Skin.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for bringing the
Yeah, thank you for
transparency, the
taking-
nuance, the non-bullshit approach that we all
Yeah.
need more of in this space. So we appreciate it so
Yes.
much. And if you're not already subscribed to Skin Deep and Unfiltered, hit that follow button. We've got more honest, science-backed skincare conversations coming your way. And if you have the time, please leave us a review if you learned something new, and come hang with us on Instagram at the Skin Deep Podcast for behind the scenes tips, expert reels, and more. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.